If you've been playing Magic for a while, you may be familiar with the deck archetypes named after breakfast foods. I think Cheerios was first, and these are generally combo decks from yesteryear. So the Cheerios, Trix, Fruity Pebbles, then there was Full English Breakfast, and then there was eggs, also known as second breakfast. We're not talking about that today. We're just talking about actual eggs.
We're just talking about eggs. As you know, some people may know this, but you know this.
Yeah.
I love eggs.
Yeah.
I have never eaten an egg that I was mad about. I love deviled eggs, scrambled omelets, poached eggs, over easy eggs. There's no bad eggs in my opinion. So that said, I wrote this because my birthday happened recently, which is adjacent to eggs. If I don't eat them, eggs would hatch into an animal. So there's kind of a mental connection there for me, like birthday, eggs hatching.
Yeah, okay.
I came out of a theoretical a human. Anyway, you can cut that. So eggs. Eggs are on every single continent. So there's a really long-standing history when I started researching this beyond just eggs and magic, of just eggs in art, in symbolism, as a canvas. Like, there's a really long-standing history of people decorating hard-shelled eggs. So they're kind of just embedded in the human experience and our mythologies in lots of different forms. So what is an egg? It is an oval or round object generally laid by a female bird, reptile, fish, or other invertebrate. Usually there's going to be a little developing embryo in there, I think pretty much always, assuming that it's fertilized. Sometimes they're not. But, we've got the hard-shelled eggs, and then you've got, like, more of the leathery membrane reptile eggs, like a sea turtle kind of egg. And in mythologies, there's lots of myths that talk about eggs in stories. So, like in ancient Egypt, Ra, one of their principal gods, is hatched from this cosmic egg. There's a thing that I found out about through this. I'd never heard of this before, but it's called Orphism. And it's a set of religious beliefs that were ascribed to this mythical poet Orpheus, who you may have an interest in, who went to the Greek underworld and came back. So again, we have these kind of, when we talk about myths that deal, a lot of times life and death are very intertwined. There's that sort of thinning of the veil that happens there, going in back and forth between. But in this scenario, there's this thing called the Orphic egg, which is, again, a cosmic egg which hatches this primordial hermaphroditic deity called Protagoras, which is sometimes equated with Zeus, Eros. There's a few different ones that pop up. A lot of ancient myths are varied, so some versions will talk about one particular deity, another one talks about somebody totally different. They're a bit of patchwork sometimes. But this is a particularly cool egg because it's often depicted with this serpent that is wrapped around it. And I also love snakes, so I was very excited about this.
This is your family crest, except just for you.
Pretty much, like for me,
personal crest.
For my family of me, myself, I, and my pet snake.
Yeah,
this is our family crest.
That's
I'm gonna incorporate that into something. So when we think about eggs beyond a delicious breakfast food, symbolically, there's this potential like new life. Sometimes they can be a symbol of luck and wealth. Like we have the stories of like the goose that lays the golden eggs. Chinese cultural meanings assigns a lot of luck and wealth into eggs as like good fortune, that kind of thing. And then Salvador Dali, notable artist, had a particular fascination with eggs, and they show up in a lot of his work. So much so that there is a Salvador Dali art museum in Spain that is adorned with these giant eggs, which this is a place I need to go in my lifetime. I didn't know about this until I was researching this.
I agree.
And I'm like, I gotta go there.
If they have a Magicon in Spain, maybe.
Yeah. It's like, I will be there because I need to be here. Yes. I want to take a picture in front of that tower, which you can put up on the screen. I want to take a picture like eating a hard-boiled egg.
Good.
That would be.
Yes.
I could probably Photoshop that, but it wouldn't be the same.
No.
So yeah, Dali uses eggs in his artwork a lot. There's quite a few different paintings that incorporate eggs in some nature. And then Andy Warhol also did some work with eggs. His are a bit more minimalist, but, you know, we see this kind of over and over again, that eggs are clearly very inspirational, not only to me.
Yeah.
A lot of notable personalities have found eggs to be quite interesting. So, which brings us to what we're doing here today, which is eggs and magic. So I looked through. These are eggs. Again, we're not talking about the deck archetype.
I mean, well, okay.
We're not.
You'll like it. I have a factoid about it.
No. We're talking about eggs in art. So I want to start with a golden opportunity. This is an alchemy card, which I had never seen until like a week ago.
Yeah.
Because I don't typically play with alchemy cards. Look at this.
Yum. How is this not the art for second breakfast?
Right? So yeah, we have this wonderful breakfast buffet. They have a piece of toast with a little toasted goose in flight on it, and 2 beautiful sunny side up eggs. Like, this is everything I could ever want in a card, artistically. I haven't actually read it. But...
Oh no, it makes a Gilded Goose. I love this.
Yeah.
What this actually does. I just don't like cards that don't exist in paper. They bother me.
I wish that this art was on something that I could hold.
Yeah.
Because I love it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Good job, Steve Prescott. The next one, shout out to my boy Ron Spencer for
Always.
Ant Queen. So this one has a bunch of little insect eggs and this beautiful spiny ant queen and all of her little worker ants surrounding her, caring and nursing for her little eggies. Which I wanted to depict a diverse kind of, number of eggs, because there's a lot of bird eggs. I think bird eggs are probably what most people think of first. If you think
Right.
like if I say egg, you probably consider like a chicken egg.
Yes.
And that's pretty common because that's what most people would encounter in day-to-day life. But I wanted to show some insect eggs as well and just some other interesting critters. We're going to get to some more interesting critters as we progress.
Yeah.
So next one, there's actually a really cool card called Atla Palani Nest Tender, which I will talk about the mechanics of this card a little bit because it is so tied into like, I love what they did with this, where she makes egg creature tokens. And then whenever an egg you control dies, you get to flip cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card, and then that goes onto the battlefield. So it's like whatever you flip into hatched out of that egg.
Yeah.
Which is so fun. Like, there's actually I love how Magic does this. There's a number of cards in here that kind of work with this, where a creature dying creates something new. And
I imagine I know one that's going to be on here later. Is it not? Rookeg?
I think it is. It's on there. They're not in alphabetical order.
No,
there's 2 actually. So there's Rock Egg and Rook Egg.
Yeah,
we can go
Rook
to
Egg.
that one next.
Rookeg came first. I was just thinking the Rookeg is
yeah.
probably the one that was first released.
I think that one,
I don't know what it is.
I don't think I put that one on there because I put one of the 2. I was like, I'm going to put Rock Egg. So Rock Egg is on here, and this is another one that when the egg is put into a graveyard, you put a bird token with flying onto the battlefield. And so I really like how they tied in the idea of like the egg cracking open, and something coming out of it. Also, this is just really cool art with all of those bones, and then the embryo that you can kind of see growing inside the eggshell.
I didn't even realize that's what that was. I thought it was just like some color pattern. Wow, you're right.
It's so cool.
That is cool.
And then I did a bit of research about this too, because I had this vague memory of, I was like, what is a rock or a rook? What is that? And that is actually a legendary bird that shows up in Arabian mythology that's like big enough to carry off an elephant.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, and so we had a Rock of Kerr Ridges in Alpha, ROC. And then in Arabian Nights, the first expansion, which came out like 3 months later, Rookeg, Rukh. But I think depending on what region of the world you're specifically getting the story from, it changes the spelling.
So when I was looking into it, yeah, the rock and rook were kind of interchangeable in terms of like we're talking about the same thing, but the spelling, there's a bit of a variant there. And I love how they showed the size here, because if you look at that egg and the thing that's growing inside of it versus the skeletons that are surrounding it.
those are like mammal skeletons.
Yeah,
and it's significantly bigger as
it's so much bigger
baby.
as a little baby rock.
Yeah.
So yeah, love that. That was a very cool piece of work there. What's my next one? Broodkeeper. So this is another one where you can see the embryo growing inside of it. I really like that in art. And there's a number of these I noticed where, you know, there's probably something to be said here for the symbolism that when they do feature humanoids, they feature femme-presenting humanoids. Like there's probably some ties there symbolically, artistically with like fertility, new life, you know, that sort of thing. But I thought this one was really cool where she's like kind of her hands are glowing red. Like I feel like she's doing some sort of incubation to bring this little dragon to life, and you can kind of see the cracks forming in the shells, in the shell under her hands. Like hatching is imminent. So
This is making me realize there's a real missed opportunity in Foundations, because I think we have a Drake. She's a Drake Hatcher, right?
Oh, is there?
But I don't, and she's a similar mechanic, but she doesn't. Oh, there are eggs on there.
Oh, she does have some little eggies. Can we
they're-
zoom in on that?
They're small, and so I hadn't actually realized that's what was in there. I thought it was just like a pouch that.
There's
eggs.
one that's hatching right now.
Adorable.
How did I miss this? That's amazing.
This is one of those things you have to be able to zoom in to see detail. When you
Yeah.
see it on paper, it's just not obvious
so
what that is.
teeny.
I thought she just had a bag that was like blue and brown. But no, those are eggs inside the bag.
I love
So,
how
yeah.
she has a little nest in there for them. Like you can see the straw and stuff sticking up. That's wonderful.
It is.
I love that.
On to the next.
Yeah, on to the next. Let's look at Augury Adept next. This is an interesting one.
Oh, yeah.
So I was looking at this, and the Kithkin is holding or levitating this egg-shaped object. But then when I read the flavor text, it says moonstones grant limited foresight but unlimited advantages. So I don't think this is actually an egg, but some artifact in the shape of an egg. And I did do a bit of looking into augury, which is a sign of what will happen in the future, an omen. So this is some kind of like divination ritual, I suppose. But yeah, I was stuck on this one for a little bit because I'm like, okay, is this a case where maybe the art didn't quite line up with the card text? But I think this is actually some sort of egg-shaped artifact and not an actual egg.
But we still love it, right?
Of course, yeah. I very much love all types of eggs, even the ones I cannot eat. So like Fabergé eggs, any sort of egg-shaped tchotchke gadget gizmo. You know, we don't want to discriminate against any eggs. However, we do want to discriminate against Cheval, Bane of Monsters. He is an egg destroyer. He is a criminal, not the fun kind. This guy. So I never noticed this at card size, but he is standing in front of a bunch of eggs that he has cracked open.
Oh,
Yeah.
rude.
Yeah.
I didn't even eat them.
No. And see, that's where I take offense.
Yeah, like if you're gonna do it,
Like, you should at least eat them, but it looks like he just cracked them open. So, yeah.
Not a waste.
We do want to discriminate against Cheval. He is not welcome here. Next up, I did want to look a bit at... I think I have two pieces from Bloomborough. Because eggs,
yeah,
actually a specific egg,
yeah.
was a key point of the story based on the Cliff Notes version that you summarized for me, because I hardly ever read the stories. But there's a couple different versions of this one. I really like how they depict the egg in this art, and just like how mischievous Cruel Claw, like he's very like mustache twirling evil kind of.
You're on the alt art.
Yeah, I'm looking at the alt art right now, but even here, like, he just looks so diabolical about this. Like, yeah, like, he's gonna just, like, laugh really sinister and, like, scoop this egg up and go put it on a train track somewhere. Like, that's just the vibe I'm getting from him. But yeah, there was another one that I highlighted. It was Dawn's Truce specifically. Right. I really like this alt art of it. This one is exceptionally pretty. The standard art is also beautiful, but I feel like the egg is less front and center here. We don't see it quite as clearly. Whereas in Dawn's Truce, it's very obviously an egg. And I like how they drew the stars here on the wings, as well as the eggshell, kind of drawing a connection between Mom and her egg.
Yeah.
Now, that brings us to, there's a few other ones here that I wanted to look at from back before Infinity. Back when silver bordered sets were strictly silver bordered.
Ah, right.
The first one was Unglued, which actually used an egg cracking open as the set symbol.
That's right.
All of the cards were silver bordered at that time, and there was kind of a chicken theme in
Is
set.
That the one Poultrygeist was from?
I think it is. I have to look it up, but there was Mesa Chicken is one that came out, and this was something they extended over a couple of unsets. It was not completed in the first run. They keep calling back to chickens specifically. So like Mesa Chicken, this is.
Yep.
There's the cracked egg symbol. It's a summon chicken. On the original, it has since been eroded to be a bird, but I think it's better that if it's a summon chicken. And then it references flavor text from the Rooster Saga, which is great. So I was quite excited about that. There's Chicken Egg, which is another one from
that's a direct Rook Egg reference. Visually, it's even a spin on the Rook Egg art.
It's very silly, and then the flavor text says that's a lot of nuggets, credited to Jaya Ballard Task Mage. So that's fun. It did make me hungry for chicken nuggets, though. Another really interesting one. So we've seen quite a few birds, but this creature really perplexed me. So
I have been looking at Lorwyn and Shadowmoor art a lot lately, just because we were supposed to get that set at the end of this year, and then it got pushed off because of the unnamed Universes Beyond thing.
Did I tell you about the dream I had where we made a segment about how Lorwyn doesn't have an R in it, and that WotC and everyone on the internet and everyone ever has just saying it wrong.
Yeah. And
you had this really detailed, like, no, it's based on this word from, like, ancient Irish, and there shouldn't be an R in it. They're just wrong. And we went on this real, like, linguistic deep dive about it, and that was a real
that sounds like us.
Weird deep dream, dream I had, and I was like, wow, that felt very realistic. But yeah, this thing, I don't really know what to make of this. It's an elemental, so a lot of times when we see elementals, they're weird in some form. This is a 6-legged dog thing. Dog beast. It's like, what if a pit bull had an extra set of legs, a lot of tentacles, and breathed bees? Which, like, I don't want to sound like I'm for this. I'm just confused by it.
Yeah.
So that's really nifty.
Yep.
But it's also very obviously coming out of an egg, which just adds to the mystery of, like, what is this thing?
And I just have this hunch that it's giant.
Yeah,
and I'm not
I get
sure
that
why.
sense too. I don't know if it's because they're like, the bees are kind of normal size, I think.
But I feel like they aren't. I feel like it's like killer bees. I don't know why. I don't know what it is in this visual that's making me think this.
Like, this is the size of a bear, not like a dog or something. At least. Really
Maybe
large.
like an elephant.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe that's just because that's more fun, so I assume it's true.
That would be like kind of a Clifford the Big Red Dog situation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I'd be down with that.
Oh, you know what? It's because it's a 6'6", too.
There's that. There is also that. It's a 6'6" with first strike, so that's a beefy friend.
Yeah.
I did also want to highlight some bird creatures.
Uh-huh.
Biolume egg is one that I had a particular interest in. Again, we've got a see-through shell. I realized looking through all these different cards, I really like a see-through shell. I like to be able, even if like this one is pretty much translucent, like it's like glass almost. I like the ones a bit more when it's kind of ambiguous what's inside the egg, like when there's a bit more shadows and it's not super clear. Like you can see this one's face. But love that it is a serpent egg, and it turns in. This is a transforming card that turns into a serpent. So I'm quite delighted by these cards that actually hatch into something through gameplay.
I'm really glad to have Innistrad represented in this list at all. And I don't think you have Smoldering Egg on the list.
I don't think I included that one.
I just want to, it's more Innistrad. Hey, it's
Let's look at
Innistrad Remastered is next week. It's just time to appreciate all these. And this is very much in the same vein.
Yeah.
This is just a spell slinger reward. You make this egg early on, you cast some spells, and suddenly it hatches into a dragon.
Hatch into this dragon.
As it should. Beautiful.
Yeah. Very excited about.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we've talked quite a bit about how much we like Innistrad. So quite excited for Innistrad Remastered. I hope that that's a fun time and that maybe I get to draft it a bit. What's my next one I want to look at? I think I want to look at Dark Water Egg. So this one is curious to me because this is an artifact, and it's this inky black egg with what looks like this weird, almost like orbital ring around it. Like, I don't know what that is, but then it's wedged inside this skull, and the flavor text is quoting this master glassblower, which made me wonder, like, is this actually an egg, or is this just like is this a paperweight? Like, what is this thing? You know, very blue-black, do you thirst for knowledge no matter the cost? Like, that is quintessential blue-black thinking. All this does is give you some mana and draw a card, but nevertheless, thought it was worth mentioning, and it's kind of cool.
And it's part of a cycle of 5 that all do that, and that's where the eggs decks got their names from. You gonna let me finish that thought?
Okay, fine.
Oh man, because I don't really have anywhere to go from there.
Oh,
I mean, this.
Oh, you don't? You interrupted that? You don't even have anywhere to go?
No, they do. They do.
We're moving on. Anyway, let's look at Collecticle.
This is great.
So you might not have seen this card. This was, or you've probably seen this, but some of our viewers may not have seen this. This is a Heroes of the Realm card. So
I only have seen it because I'm obsessed with the artist.
Okay, yeah. So this is something that a lot of people may not know about. Heroes of the Realm is this thing that WotC does where they make these special promo cards and they distribute them to employees and people within the organization. So they're not widely distributed. They're not secret layers. Like, you can't necessarily go get this unless someone who received it sells theirs. So very hard to acquire. But this one is so gorgeous. Artist is Wiley Beckett. Wait, is it Beckert? Beckert. Yeah. Wiley Beckert. Absolutely stunning art. I love this little nest with the tiny eggs and the bird. And it's a really cute one too. It's an adventure card which lets you return target booster fun card from your graveyard to your hands. So it's like, that's delightful. And then it's like a booster fun matters thing where whenever it attacks, you flip the top card to your library, and if it's a booster fun card, you can put it in your hands. So I think this one was distributed to people who worked on that initiative of like the booster fun project. And
I think like original Eldraine, which is where this frame is from, is when they started the booster fun thing.
Well, that's when they publicly started talking about it, so I assume that was the beginning of, but it's like, this is cool that they did it with the Eldraine storybook theme, since that was around the time they were debuting that. But I love this art. Like, this is one of those that I would absolutely put a print on my wall, like, regardless of whether or not I cared about Magic. Like, this is just beautiful.
Oh yes.
Like, this passes the living room test of, is this just legitimately good art, or like, am I just attached to the card? You know? The next one I want to look at is one that I have found amusing for many moons now.
This is probably the first egg in the game.
I think this is the first egg in the game, because this was initially printed in alpha, and this is the Dingus egg. Now, I looked, and I could not find anywhere what a dingus is.
Yeah.
within the context of Magic.
Yeah.
Like, what does this hatch into? The best I found, and I think I sent you this, was a Reddit comment from like 10 years ago where somebody proposed that this was just something Richard Garfield made up at the tail end of like a 9-day absinthe bender, which like, I don't know if there's any validity in any of that, but they were just like basically telling the original poster to like, don't think about it. Like, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. And it has not come up again. Like, I looked, I couldn't find any references to dingus eggs. There's...
Well, most of the flavor things in Alpha, like, there wasn't a backstory then. It got made up later. And that's cool. But like Urza and Mishra, that's all there was. He just came up with those names because they sounded cool. And then the Antiquities design team and the Fallen Empires design team fleshed that out into a full world that then Jeff Grubb made amazing.
Yeah, I'm very thankful that they've added... I posited this question to some friends. I was like, what do you think comes out of the dingus egg? And they submitted this photo of their dog Mossy with permission that Mossy comes from the dingus egg. And I mean, I think that tracks. Like, look at him.
Yeah.
He could hatch from that.
I believe that.
Yeah.
The notes on your document say must include.
Yes.
The photo. I like that.
That's... If
I agree.
when you have time, you should read through all of my notes because they are brief, but some of them are pretty funny. The next one is the dinosaur egg. And this is just exactly what it sounds like. It's a dinosaur egg, creature type dinosaur egg. But I wanted to include it because it specifically shows humans, or humanoids, painting and decorating this giant egg. Which I love that they actually included that because it is such a long-standing historical... There's so much precedent in the real world for that. Yeah. Apparently, the oldest decorated eggshells that have been found are from 60,000 years ago in South Africa.
Oh!
So, like, this predates, so, like, people have been drawing on eggs and carving on eggs and decorating eggs for much, much longer than they've been doing a lot of other things.
That's wild.
So I love that, WotC included that here with these folks decorating this egg. And then my final pick is the Mossfire egg. So this is another one of that cycle that we talked about earlier. Yeah. I included this because of the snake.
Yeah.
And it's just cool.
This circles back to that.
It circles back to the
Orphic egg?
To the Orphic egg.
Great.
This felt like a really good, like, cosmic egg depiction, so I wanted to end on that. And again, Watnik Master Glassblower is chiming in on all... I think he chimes in on all of these.
That's great.
So, I like to think that these are just like a series of paperweights he made, and this is the little card that comes with it when you buy it. Kind of like when you buy a Squishmallow, and they have, like, this Squishmallow's name is George, and he likes... long walks on the beach and overindulging in Oreos and But I understand that you have also selected some eggs that you wanted to talk to you about. I have a handful
of eggs.
Because I didn't allow you to look at any of my egg picks before
That's right.
today.
That's how to do surprises.
Yeah.
Well, the first, we're going back to Alpha. So Dingus Egg had a companion. There was at least one other egg represented at that time, and that was in the Dragon Whelp, which, teaser for one of our upcoming videos, figures into Fallen Empires as well. But I'm not going to explain that any further until you get to our Fallen Empires Volume 7 video. But this is just a really cute little dragon who just woke up.
I love this so much. This is such an adorable dragon.
Yeah. And it feels like it's probably a baby Shivan dragon because it comes out in Alpha where you only have the original set of cards. And there, I think, are 3 cards that do this, where you put in as many red as you want to give it +1/+0, and it's this, the card Fire Breathing, which gives it to something else. It's an aura, and then the Shivan dragon. So yeah, it's neat.
I love the little dragon's feet. I think that's my favorite part. The little toesies. Yeah. Very cute.
Then my next pick is another Innistrad item here, which I was very surprised wasn't on your list, just because it's
I skipped over a few. I didn't include... I got to a point where I was like, I can't just put every single egg.
I mean, but yes.
I mean, I could.
Excellent restraint.
I could, but yes, thank you.
This one is Ludovic's test subject. And...
beautiful.
It just speaks for itself. It's Nils Ham art. I love almost everything that I've seen of Newt's
I've
homes.
played with this in your Innistrad cube, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it's great. And last of all, Summoner's Egg, which is another instance of just the egg hatches into another creature. And I just love that. And this one I had not seen before. I mean, I have literally seen it at some point because I've looked at the entire card file of nearly every set
Yeah.
that's ever
Is
been
this
printed.
from Fifth Dawn? Which one
Yes.
is this? Okay.
That's right. But I have no recollection
Yeah.
of this one. And I have a terrible memory, so that's not but that probably means I do not own one and have never
Yeah.
played with the card, and that is so cool.
Yeah, I think that is my favorite takeaway from this whole project, was just seeing how many times they actually incorporate the idea of like the egg hatching into a thing.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah. And then my final note, the eggs deck mostly doesn't contain eggs, but it does contain a bunch of orbs.
So this is why I didn't want to talk about the eggs deck, was because when I first found out that there was a deck archetype called eggs that did not include eggs.
It has some.
Yeah, but like it's not what it sounds like.
You're
It is
right.
blatantly false advertising.
Okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought this up.
I was deeply offended.
I think we should stop now.
We should probably start. Yeah. So,
Give me a second.
Yeah.
Guys, can you keep the volume down just a little bit?
Yeah, and also I'm trying hot sauce.
What?
Excuse me?